Wait.
Okay.
Okay. Now.
Testing. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
How's that?
Okay. Okay.
And I'm going to check YouTube just real quick.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so is it up? Am I on live on YouTube? Does someone want to go?
I'm on TikTok.
You're on
Let me see if
TikTok?
I can get YouTube. Where's my stuff?
Okay, so where is? I'm live right here. See this?
Yeah.
It says live.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
where we're at.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
How is that for volume? Okay.
Oh, there's Walter.
All right.
Okay. Do you see us, Walter?
Yes, I can.
All right. So I'm going to help people monitoring online bathrooms. So if you monitor whatever,
I got TikTok.
okay, you got TikTok.
I got 60.
Walter, can you monitor YouTube?
Monitor what?
For the questions? Because we're not, yeah, just for any questions that come on YouTube or onto the, you'll have question and answer period after presentation. So we'll,
So there's a delay on there, was there?
There is a
That was happening at the.
yes.
yeah.
Walter, you're going to have to mute yourself. Okay. I'm trying to make it only one big picture. There.
There you go.
Okay, Dwight, where do you want these? Where do you
All
want
right.
these?
Actually, you have a peek at where you want right now. Okay. Good. All right. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Prairie Republic meet and greet. We're here. Okay, I'm getting feedback.
Try that.
Okay, so my name is Dwight Erickson, and I'm your host and MC for today. Uh, We're here today to share with you a vision and a solution to the corrupt system that we have been indoctrinated into since the start of common law, created in 1666 by the Roman Empire, a system which has never been for we the people. Our main speaker today will be sharing with us a journey that will be enlightening and inspiring for most, and possibly shocking for some. So, we the Sovereigns are here to give you, in full transparency, what the Prairie Republic entails. I ask that everybody, basically at this point, during the presentation, that you hold your questions. We'll have a question and answer period afterwards. And that you write them down on a piece of paper or put them into the chat for this time at this time. Okay, I'm getting directed here because you can't see me from that. So the Prairie Republic is walking away from the corrupt system of politics and common law. We are the people, we have the power. Where natural law is ours. And our Constitution is a contract to how we will govern ourselves. So please take the opportunity to read the Constitution and the articles, because these are how we agree to govern ourselves in a society of free men and women. The structure is what we are building at this moment. We are okay, just a minute. No more elections. Our administrators are hired and fired by the sovereigns. And during the transition, we are, I can't read my own writing, are the interim administrators. We're only here temporarily, and it will be the responsibility of the sovereigns to hire and fire. When we have, will be the responsibility of the sovereigns to hire and fire once we have achieved our goal for independence and established our republic. At this time, I am the interim adjudicator for the natural law courts and lead adjudicator, not a judge. So I'm not here to judge, I'm here to mediate between disputing parties. And we put in place the court structure right now for the region of Calgary. Now I'm going to introduce some of the other interim administrators and their roles within this. So I'm going to introduce Elaine first. And right now, Elaine is part of our nature and wildlife. So if you'd like to just give us a little bit of background on what your role is, Elaine.
Okay, greetings to everybody today. Thank you for showing your interest. Oh, not getting the volume?
No, stand up. Get in the camera.
So what I'm going to give you today is a brief summary of the areas that the forest rangers are going to be dealing with in all their capacities and in the scope of the Prairie Republic here. So essentially, there are designated areas of responsibility. First off, we are functioning under natural sovereign law. And so all the duties that are designated to a forest ranger will function in the capacity and under natural sovereign law enforcement. Now, as a forest ranger, you are dealing with specific areas. Number one area will be surveillance. And so rangers are going out in the field, in the various counties that make up the Prairie Republic, and they're investigating complaints received from the solvents in their given area. So the forest rangers will be tasked to document their investigations in the field. And that could be involved numerous things, but some common areas are trophy hunting, which under Prairie Republic sovereign law is a violation of sovereign law. So a forest ranger or forest rangers out in the field encountering a situation where trophy hunters have taken some game in that area, they will be liable in front of a panel of designated people in our court system. So the initial complaint would be documented and then taken forward to the court. The persons involved in this would be placed under arrest, and then the issues would be forwarded for a review by a group that's operating under our natural law courts. So that essentially is just an example to give you a basic idea of what the forest rangers are primarily responsible for and specific areas. So the whole scope here is governing wildlife, fish, waters, forests, wetlands, national parks, and other natural areas. But they also keep the natural, the sovereign safe. Forests, wetlands. Forest rangers handle wildlife law enforcement, population management, protection at parks, recreational facilities, and conservation areas. So in some cases, we'll be dealing with reports of injured animals. And the scope of the training for forest ranger would enable them to be able to deal with all kinds of situations, that being a specific one. When the rangers are in the field, they are documenting everything that they're investigating. So they're responsible to document things very accurately, which would involve written reports, video footage, and witness accounts of particular incidents taking place. So forest rangers have the power to write citations, issue fines, and arrest sovereigns who violate natural sovereign law. There's also an area of managing the wildlife parks and forests, as well as comprehending safety in the field, conservation issues, wildlife natural sovereign law enforcement. Another area of interest is protection of parks, recreational facilities, and conservation areas. So the rangers are doing this through a seasonal rotation. And there are a set of situations that are dealt with seasonally that are documented as well as year-round. So depending on the particular county that a forest ranger is in, they will have a particular constellation of areas that they're going to be dealing with. So the forest rangers really need to be detailed orientated. They have to have very sharp eye for detail and check things twice. Forest rangers are eco-friendly, environmentally conscious, and enjoy spending time in the outdoors. Obviously, any of you who are living in Alberta know that there is a wide range of weather and conditions that we have to operate in. And so Forest Ranger will have a tool bag of skills and tools that they can use in their particular county that they're responsible for. And there will also be cross collaboration with other counties. We're all sharing information with one another, even though some counties will have specific things that are encountered in the course of the daily field activity of the ranger. Forest rangers have to be very dependable. A lot of times they're out in the field by themselves, so they do have to take their safety into consideration in dealing with certain situations. And understand that the risk they're placing themselves at according to those particular situations. So a situation could be with predators either attacking sovereigns who are using recreational areas, there's taking wild game, and so on and so forth. So any area where there are sovereigns circulating, this has to be taken into consideration for the action that they're taking. So specifically, we don't want to place any other sovereigns who are not, who may be in danger, away from danger and dealing with the situation. That's basically of a summary of the areas. If you go and visit the Prairie Republic website, you can check out many areas, specifically the Forest Ranger Wildlife Management area does give you some basic grounding information on our website. There currently is 2 videos that are available to people coming on site. They are short videos condensing information to give you a basic overview of the scope of the Forest Ranger's duties. One video is 1 to 4 minutes long, and the other video runs about 3 minutes. So we haven't gone extensively in terms of video coverage, but we give you the basic outline as a jumping off point for you to discover your area of interest if you want to consider yourself as a candidate going into various areas here on a hiring basis within the Prairie Republic. So I recommend that. And in one of the videos, I also document in my own voice the overview. And so that is worth a while for you to check out. And I would say that I would encourage anybody to take a lot of time to investigate the whole site, but also in particular the forest ranger area. I think it's very well documented and very clear. So it will give you a basic orientation of what a forest ranger does on any given day. And that's basically all I can leave you with. I encourage you to come forth with any questions that you may have today, and we will deal with those as best we can. Or you can actually, we have email contacts off our website that you can go to submit any questions also. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elaine. Next one will be Walter. Walter is interim administrator for our infrastructure. Go ahead, Walter.
Hi, all. I'm a welder in Central Alberta, and I'm working with infrastructure for the Prairie Republic. And it's a lot of people don't realize infrastructure is a huge thing. Info means below, so the infrastructure is the underlying structures of a country. The things that it needs in order for it to function right and to make people grow and survive in our country. For example, we need roads, we need bridges to get to markets, we need water to survive, sewer systems, railroad tracks and subways, airports. It's not just a house for someone to live in. It's to build a whole community so that we can all live together in harmony. It's a big project to organize this all, and we're always looking for info or bright ideas or better ideas. If there's any questions I can answer for you, feel free to contact me. And that's just the bare basics of it. Like, I could be here for hours talking about this subject, but we're here just to kind of introduce ourselves, and that's basically the topic that I would like to talk about today. Thanks.
Okay, so I do want to just give a little input of some of the other interim administrators right now and what positions they're in. And again, we're also looking for people to fill the roles of committee members for a lot of this other parts of the infrastructure and part of the system of the Natural Law Prairie Republic. So we have Jacob Hiller, who's our lead for the monetary distribution centers. We're not going to deal with the International Monetary Fund. We've created our own currency, but I'll let him deal with that when he comes in. Or you can go and read our blogs. Our blogs have a lot of the information that you need to catch up on. Sue Hollington is Food Solutions and Agriculture. She's an interim administrator, and she's down in Kentucky, of all places. So it just tells you how the natural law constitution has gone worldwide. We have Caleb, who's part of Innovations and Inventions. His company, Greenworks, is right now in the process of setting up wind turbines and water turbines, not just here, but even around the world with others. And then we have Deborah Laporte. She is a interim administrator for our health and wellness. We actually have 21 total different administration roles that need to be completed. Out of the ones that I've said, we've got 7 filled. We also need community members, for example, with the peace officers, the sheriffs, so on and so forth. We need people to come step into those roles and catch up on what natural law is about. So we have child and family restoration. We have immigration and refugee. We have border services, natural resources, firefighters, EMS, the Prairie Republic Auditor, learning centers, immigration centers, our sovereign committee, our military and militias, ombudsman, unitary committee, communications, and IT. So there's a lot of roles to be filled. And what the interns are, we are just here temporarily until the Prairie Republic is actually up and functioning. Once it's up and functioning, the sovereigns will hire and fire their administrators for each one of those roles. And that comes from local code, goes all the way up to national. Now, I'm just going to explain a little bit about where I am with natural law. I'm the adjudicator. I'm the interim lead for our court, natural law court systems. What my roles as an adjudicator are is not to judge anything. When a sovereign, two parties have a dispute, they will come and put their complaint, and I mediate. I do not judge. So if they do not come to a remedy, an agreement between each other, then it's up to them to put it. We'll put it in front of a grand jury. And the way ours is set up, it's not 50+1, it's a unanimous decision. And our victim or the one that's had harm done to them actually has a voice in a remedy, unlike the court systems today. And that's just a simple psyop of what I'm trying to put across. At this point here, though, you're here to listen to and welcome our main speaker, who's been our lead for the media, historian, and secretary of records. She's been involved in this longer than any of us. So I would like you all to welcome our main speaker for today, Ms. Elizabeth Seawald, and hold your questions until after we'll have a question and answer period after.
Thank you, Dwight. All right. Hi, everyone. I welcome all of you. I've been at this for many, many years. My name is Elizabeth, and I began my journey back in actually the year 2000. And I've been questioning lots of things all my life. You can ask my parents. I asked lots of questions and challenged my mom on a lot of things, which she didn't appreciate me growing up. So as we go into this, what I fell into, well, I actually fell into my lap and that was natural law. I started researching natural law back in 2000, and I came across it by accident because I was questioning our court system, and I was dealing with, there was some friends of mine who were dealing with child issues within the courts and marital issues, and I thought, well, these things were just not looking right. And that's when I dug into natural law. And I found out not much in Canada. There was no history in Canada of natural law at all. I could hardly find anything. So I decided to go over to Europe. And that's when I went into the libraries in London, and I went into the libraries in France and also in Germany. There are more information there than here, I would tell you that. And what I found out was that natural law was the original law, the very first law we have ever had on this planet. And it was given to us by our creator, and it's going back to the old original law. This was to give us our sovereignty. This natural law protected us from anything else. And all you have to remember about natural law is, as long as you are not harming another being or anything else around you, what you're doing is perfectly fine. What we are encouraged to do is to create, and create without harming anybody else or stepping on anybody's toes or trying to climb the ladder as they teach us in today's world. Step on anyone you want just to get ahead. And natural law is not like that. We're working in communication in communities, and we work together to build each other up. So as time went on, I just kind of documented all the stuff I found, and I tried to reach out to other patriots about this, and they were some got very upset with me because they believed in common law. And when I researched common law, I found that common law was brought in actually by England. And it was an old Britain law. And it was actually came in through the Magna Carta, which then became the British North American Act, which then became common law. That's the history of it. And it went against natural law. But what they did is all of the royalties, I would say, in England decided to, they decided that they would give the control over to the lords and lands. And that's what the Magna Carta was all about, to give the control. So it took away from the king and queen and whoever was in charge in the royalty and give it to the lords of the land, all right? But they never took the common people, us sovereigns, into consideration, all right? So what then happened is the Magna Carta was developed, and then the British North American Act came in, right? Now, the British North American Act, they told the people, because the people and all the sovereigns in that time, they were told, we are going to do this for you. This is all for you, which was not. It was another manipulation to take control over them. So once the British North American Act came in, they found out all of the sovereigns in that area and in England and all across the world, all the Commonwealth countries, which would be Australia, New Zealand, Canada, some South African countries, okay? All of the all the Commonwealth countries were then told this is what we are going to be doing, and they decided to change it into common law. And it was all brought through the Bar Association. And the Bar Association is where our lawyers go to get educated and propagandized, that I call. They get brainwashed, all right? So this is our system. And when I introduced natural law, a lot of sovereigns did not agree with it. They wanted common law because that's all they ever knew. They never knew the history. They never knew the manipulation of it. So when I tried to explain to them the history, I got a lot of backlash. So I backed off. I just decided, well, this isn't the time to bring the truth forward. So I backed off and I waited. And time went by and more patriots were coming out, getting more excited over the injustices of this world, and especially in Alberta, because this is where I was living at the time. So I just kind of kept my ear out for things and seeing where the sovereigns were going and what they were doing and what they were talking about, all right? And during this time, I was talking to a friend, and I met him through, I was a first aid teacher for St. John's, and I met this fellow through that, and we became really good friends. And one day he came up to me, actually called me on the phone, and he said, Elizabeth, do you know anything about Canada being a corporation? And I went, what? And he said, yeah, I was told Canada's not a country, it's a corporation. And I went, where did you hear this from? So he said, well, would you research it? I know you like to research things, so away I went. And I went down that rabbit hole. And I did find documentation, and I did find evidence that, yes, Canada is a corporation, and it is on the SIC exchange in the District of Columbia in the USA. And I also have the corporation number. If anyone wants it, they can contact me. I can get it to them, and you can find it for yourself. It's still there. It has never been taken down. So yes, I found out that Canada is a corporation and not a country. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So I thought, well, okay, so if we are a corporation, how does a corporation have a constitution? I said, that doesn't work, because most corporations have charters. They don't have constitutions. So I thought, well, that was interesting. And I thought, well, okay, I'll just leave that as, and I kept talking to more and more people and more sovereigns around this. And then the question came to me, does Canada have a constitution? And I said, well, of course it does. Pierre Trudeau brought it in 1882, right? Didn't we just stand up and have a big celebration about a constitution? And I thought, well, that's interesting. It's a corporation with a constitution. I've never heard such a thing. So then I decided to do some research again, and I went in deep. And I found out that we had a constitution, or we have, I guess you want to call it that, but it was based on the British North American Act. And I thought, well, that's interesting. They based it on a document from England, right? So I thought, well, that's interesting. So I decided to go over to London and actually research this myself. And I went into the libraries in London, and I found out that the British North American Act is a dead document. They don't even recognize it anymore. And I said, well, how can in 1982 Pierre Trudeau then take that piece of paper and revamp it and bring it to Canada to make it a constitution? And I thought, oh, that was you cannot make a constitution out of a dead document. How is that possible? Now they revamped it. I have to admit that. They did revamp it and tried to make it work. But for your information, I will let you know, and this is truth, the fact, that Quebec never ever signed on to it. They never agreed to it. And so here we passed a constitution, big celebration and everything up there, that we would have this constitution in 1982. He was refreshing it, as they said, what they call it, resurrecting it. We never had one. There was nothing to resurrect. But anyways, what happens is we don't have one. We never did have one. And Quebec never signed on. It was never ratified by the people, which I found out. None of us. I never voted. I never even said a check mark that I wanted this. We had none of this. And yet it was all passed. So I'm going to ask you a question. If you're signing corporate papers and you've gone through all of the legalities of a corporate contract, let's say this constitution is a contract with the people, right? Isn't that what a constitution is? It's a contract with the people that we want to pass. Where do you sign for that when you are looking at a corporate paper? You usually sign at the very last page and you date it and witness it, right? That's usually how it's done in all legality papers that I've been around. Well, if you notice, nobody paid much attention to it. On the stage of this resurrection of the Constitution, the Queen was there, Queen Elizabeth II. And did anybody even notice where she signed? Anybody? Well, she didn't sign on the bottom page of the last page to make this official because she couldn't. She would have been doing that illegally, and according to the laws in England, she couldn't do that. She'd be jeopardizing herself. So she signed actually in the very first few pages of this resurrected Constitution. And so she knew she could not sign the bottom page because Quebec has never signed on to this. It's never been ratified by the people, and she would be criminally, doing something criminal. She couldn't do it. So we don't have a constitution. And then they call us the Charter of Rights, right? Everybody is out there, fight for your rights. Stand behind the charter. How can you have a charter if you don't have a constitution? And a charter is for a corporation. When you have a constitution, you have, as in the States and as you have in Iceland and as you have in any other country you can look at, and then look at their constitution, they usually have what they call a Bill of Rights. Not a charter. A charter is for a corporation. Now, a Bill of Rights you can have with the Constitution. We don't have that. And anyways, our so-called Charter of Rights for the Canadian sovereigns, well, it was never ratified because the Constitution's never been ratified. Quebec has never signed on to this Charter of Rights. And that's the thing is how come Quebec is never signing on to anything? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Why did they want to separate? Anybody ask themselves that question?
Never been married.
I'll tell you what. The reason why they don't need to sign any of it is because they are independent. Every province in this country, so-called corporation, is independent. We've never, ever, confederated. Thank you, Dwight. I forgot the word there. We have never confederated. And so we ask, well, why is that? We have 1867 as our confederation. I said, no, we've never confederated at all. So when we, a group of us sovereigns, took the Alberta government to court to find the confederation papers, we asked them to show us the confederation papers. They couldn't. They stalled. And finally came back because they could not produce anything. There is none. There is no confederation papers. And so they sent us to the federal government. And what does the federal government do? Well, it will cost you an arm and leg to even get anything out of them. They have them in mind. There is no Confederation papers. Quebec has never signed on, so how can you have a Confederation at all? They wanted their independence. They've already had it. Walter Cool wrote a letter to René Lévesque during that time. And he told him, and Walter Cool's an MP from Alberta here, and he wrote a letter to René Lévesque saying, why do you want to separate? You're already separated. You already are independent. Just act upon it. And René Lévesque was shocked at this letter, and so he decided to go to Pierre Trudeau and say, okay, what's this letter all about? Is Walter nuts or is he telling the truth? And Pierre Trudeau said, yes, he's telling the truth. Every province is an independent. And he goes, what? He said, yeah, we've never confederated. We don't have a constitution. Every province is an independent. And then he goes, well, what do you mean? And he said, I'm going to tell you this, Remy. I'm going to pass you about a suitcase full of money that you will get every year. And it's going to come from Alberta. And that's your transfer payments that we make every year to Quebec because of that deal they made in the Parliament buildings that day. So when people say, oh, let's stop those transfer payments, I hear that all the time from all the patriots. Oh, stop, please. Let's kill those transfer payments. Well, you could do that if your premier had a backbone and actually stood up and claimed our independence, because Alberta's independent. Saskatchewan's independent. Manitoba's independent. There's been no confederation. And we keep going in circles and thinking that the selection, I'm sorry, you call it election, I call it a selection, because they're already selected before they even come to the ballot. And why would I put an X when I can write my name? If I want to get somebody in above me, I'm going to hire them myself. Just like Dwight said, we hire administrators to do the jobs for us. They work for us. These politicians don't work for us. They work for each other and they work for the higher ups. All right, that's how it works. That's the history of our country. And so what happens is I get on this whole thing about the independence thing, and I'm thinking, well, what's going to happen? We don't have a constitution. All right, we never confederated. We don't have a country. It's a corporation. So where does that leave us? Where does that absolutely leave us? And then one day, the same fellow who I talked first aid to calls me again. And he says, Elizabeth, you got to be into this Zoom room. I know you love this stuff and you've been researching this stuff. Please get in here. So I entered a Zoom room. And in the Zoom room was a bunch of patriots all talking about drafting a constitution. And I went, oh, I'm in the right place. Because I have all this history and I know what I want to do. And I know exactly where we need to go as sovereigns to claim our sovereignty and get our freedom. So anyways, I listened to these patriots talk. I was very quiet in the first few meetings, just kind of getting to know everybody. And that's the first time I met Dwight. And so here we are. I'm listening, and they all decided they wanted to draft this constitution. So I decided to join in and become very active in this. Now, over that first year, we researched constitutions from all over the world. We went to Iceland, we went to Germany. We found out that Germany doesn't even have a very good constitution at all. They don't. We went to Australia and found out that they have two constitutions, one that overlap each other. And I thought, well, gee, this is really interesting. So as we researched all these constitutions, we found that every time we sat down to read it, everybody was confused by the wording. And we thought, okay, all of the wording are legalese. And we decided we don't want the legalese language. We don't want politician language. We don't want our lawyer language. So we decided, let's just get down to earth, grassroots sovereigns from across this whole country, or corporation, sorry, and get them to give us some ideas of what they want. Listen to the ideas of what they want. And so that's what we did. We sat in that Zoom room every day. We met every night for a year. And there was in and out of that Zoomer was about 75 to 100 sovereigns. And I have to say most of them were Albertans. Because at that time, the oil was down. There was all this, there was so many upset Albertans, okay? So, but we started drafting this Constitution. And we wanted it so simple that a 10-year-old could understand it when reading it. And so that's how it began. And we wanted it simple. We didn't want it complicated. This is for us and for our freedoms. And so this is how we began the drafting of it. All right. So once we got through that first year, and believe me, it wasn't easy. It was hard. There was a lot of anger, a lot of arguing, a lot of people wanting common law. And when I introduced natural law, like I said, it became a real battle, and I had to really instruct and show them the truth around natural law and how it works, and give them a little bit of examples of common and natural law. Over time, they adopted it and decided this would be the better way to go, is with natural law. I was very grateful for that. I wasn't going to give up on that because that's our original law. So as we drafted this Constitution and we got her down to that first year, we made that first draft, and we started working on critiquing it, finalizing it, I should say. And we got it down to 8 parts. Very simple. And it's a Constitution that frees you up to be who you want to be, and to free you up as a sovereign to make your own choices and to create in your own way. It's not binding you. It's not like set in stone where this. No, there's leeway, and it's you that decides on that. We don't tell you that. But when you go to read it on our website in Prairie Republic, go to the website and read this. The 8 parts are all you need to actually see, because that covers it all. When you go into the actual articles, now the articles were written for communities as a guideline for you to develop this Constitution and natural law in your communities. It's very simple. But most people don't know how to start because they're used to the old system. And the old system keeps you, I would say, brainwashed into thinking it has to be a certain way. No. This Constitution and these articles can be adjusted to what your community wants. That's the way it was written, all right? So when you go in, and I was going to actually read the Constitution to you, if I can find, do you have the flyer?
Yeah, you here?
Oh, awesome, great. Okay, so the part one of first part of our Constitution, what we really wanted to get across was what's sovereignty. And we had to really explain and have people have all the sovereigns comprehend what is your sovereignty. Have you ever asked yourself that question? What is your sovereignty? And the sovereignty is your freedom. When you claim your sovereignty, you claim your freedom. And sovereignty is not living under common law, admiralty law, which we are living under right now, admiralty law, maritime law. And did you know that Canada, like the government address, I know we always say it's in Ottawa, but it's actually off sea. It's off the coast of, I think, Newfoundland. We're a ship at sea. That's the maritime law. That's the admiralty law. Okay? So once you realize all these truths, and that you kind of wonder about what they were trying to do to us. Well, they're trying to enslave us. That's the big thing. So we wanted everybody to understand what their sovereignty means. And you can define that to yourself. What's freedom to you? If you can define what freedom is to yourself, you can define sovereignty. Freedom is what everybody, what every patriot event I go to, what are they yelling? Freedom. And then you watch the one with Mel Gibson in it from Scotland, freedom. Every rebel that's out there in any movie that you watch, what do they yell? Freedom. But what do they mean by freedom? How do you get freedom? Those are good questions to ask yourself. You have to decide for yourself what that is and what it is that you really want. Because once you know what you really want, you can create it just by doing. Have the intent and do. That's how you do it. And that's how you get it. So anyways, we wanted everyone to understand what sovereignty was all about. And so when you go into the Constitution, you will see what sovereignty is. The definition is right there. The first part of the Constitution also talks about, where am I going? Part 1 is how about our independence and how we want our independence. And we want to be free and we want to have our sovereign independence. We want to live under natural law. That is basically what we want. We talk about our unalienable rights. Has anyone even defined that? It's very different than inalienable rights. They're two different things. And in the United States Constitution, they talk about inalienable rights. It is not freedom. Okay? Unalienable means you are free to decide for yourself, free to travel, free to work, free to do whatever you want, to tell you the truth. Carry arms if you want to walk around with a gun in your belt. That's your choice, as long as you don't harm anybody. That's the key to natural law, as long as you don't harm anybody. All right? So that was our part 1. Part 2, again, like I just said, was on unalienable rights. And we go into further definition when you go and read it. It's very important that you read it and look at it. We have lots of videos about it too. I think on my website and on the YouTube channel. Part 3, well, that was a big one. No income tax. Everybody in the room was jumping up and down for joy when we brought that one up. No taxes, no income taxes, no usury. And I had to explain to my granddaughter last night about usury. Usury is taxes. Usury is interest rates. So when you are loaning someone, lending them anything type of currency, and you're charging interest, you are doing usury to that person, to that individual. That is not what natural law is all about. When you go get a mortgage, you should not have to pay interest on that. That's usury. When you pay service charges at the bank, that's usury. All of that is usury. And no one ever really thinks of those little things. They all thought what they saw was no taxes. They were so excited about that. But yeah, it's great that you don't have to pay income tax. But also when you have a community and you need services, how do you get those services done? Everybody relies on the federal government giving them money. And where does that money come from? They say our taxes, but half the time it just comes off of us, of our slaves, because the sweat off our backs is where they get the money from. And so in a community, when you have services to be done and need like waterworks to be done or to be fixed, or you want internet service, like all these things that you want in a community, yeah, you can have service fees for those, but it's a one-time fee until everything is in and then it's done. Until you have to maintain it again. And then we go in the community and say, look, we have to maintain this. We have to fix these things. This is what it's going to cost. And the sovereigns decide. That's why we have decision-making stations where they can keep up with everything that administration is doing. So they cannot be doing things without our okay. That's what that means. You go in and you say, yes, okay, I agree that we should pay this amount of fees for the next 3 years so that we can get this all done. But after 3 years, it's gone. That fee is gone. Because that is the contract we made with that administration. That is how this works. That's natural law. That's how that works. Freedom. Now, part 4 was all about your spiritual beliefs. It's your unalienable right to believe anything you want. You can start any church you want. You can do anything you want as long as you don't harm somebody, cause any sovereign a loss, or fraud any sovereign. You can believe and do whatever you want. Another thing about natural law that most people don't really realize is if you're forcing your belief on another sovereign, you're trying to overtake their will. That is violating natural law. So yes, if you want your church, you can have your church, but you cannot go door to door and push your church onto the sovereigns around you that are not interested. You're pushing yourself, your beliefs onto them and overtaking their will. And that's what our government is doing today. So you're no better if that's what you are doing. You can't overtake another sovereign's will. That is why our Creator gave us free will. And that's in our Constitution. All right? You do have that right to believe whatever you want. Part 5, is the freedom of speech. And then again, natural law says you have the freedom to speak what you want, write what you want, paint what you want, anything you want to do, expressing yourself, your creativity. You're an artist, you're a writer, you're a singer, you're an actor, whatever you want to do, you can do as long as you don't harm anybody, fraud anybody, or cause anybody loss. So if a group decides to produce a film, for instance, yeah, you're working with the community and you're working and you're trying to get this promoted and stuff. Yeah, that's fine. You can do that. But you can't force it on the community that doesn't want it. It's their choice. All right? That's how it works. That's how natural law works. So now in part 6, we talked about everybody wanted to have, own a gun, have a gun, carry a gun, ammo, whatever you wanted to do. That was a big discussion in all of our meetings. And so I agree. You should be able to carry a gun anywhere you want. Texas, you can. What's the difference between Texas and here? No difference. No difference. You should be able to do anything you want with a firearm. You have that right as a sovereign, and you have that right under natural law. As long as you don't, again, repeat, harm no one, cause anyone loss, or fraud anyone, of course, kill anyone. All right? These are what people would call weapons of destruction, but they're not really weapons of destruction. They're just a gun. It's the operator behind it. All right? That's the one that you have to really be aware of. Not the gun itself. The gun's just a machine. It's there. And it can't do anything without somebody else actually triggering it. That's how it works. So to be afraid of a gun is really silly. There should be no fear at all. And in natural law, there is no fear. Have no fear. As soon as you fear, you bring in negativity and you live in that fear and you can't get out of it. It locks you in. So don't be afraid of firearms. Don't be afraid of it at all. They're very safe to use if you teach yourself and you learn, educate yourself on how it works. I did. I never used a gun in my life. And then I've been using one, I've been shooting one, and I love it. I love the 22. I love it. I love target practicing. I do. I love the handguns. I'm not great at the handguns because they're too powerful for me. I would have to use a little Derringer, I guess. But I do like the 22s. I like the shotguns. I even shot a Russian SKS or something it was the other day with a bayonet on it. It was an old World War II gun. It was wonderful. It was the experience. I wanted the experience of it. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of a gun. What I am very wary of and very aware of is the operator. That's what you need to the difference. I'm just trying to explain the difference, okay? So that is our right to bear arms, part 6. Part 7, we put treason in here because everyone's talking about what is treason and how can you commit treason in a community. And the best way we could actually define that for the people that were asking this question was, okay, if you violate the Constitution, which violates natural law, because the Constitution is based on natural law, you are then committing treason. Sorry about that for the interruption. Anyways, we put treason in there because we knew that it came up in a lot of questions with the Patriots when we were drafting the Constitution. And so we put it in as just a reminder of where we've come from. All right. That is all we wanted to do there. So it's a violation of natural law if you go against the Constitution and natural law. That is what treason is all about. You'd have to really connive to do something really bad within the community. And most people, and if that happens, that's where our natural law courts come into play, and that's where the community comes into play, because you and I are the jurors, and we hire jurors. All right, we hire them. They come and work for us in our court systems for 3 years, and you're on call for 3 years. That off and on, you're not there every day, all right? And you're only called in if you need a grand jury. That's it. But it's your choice, okay? Part 8 is about our decision-making stations, which I have described to you. And in these decision-making stations, we basically get you to make the decision. We put up, for instance, we're hiring let's say Elaine here to be an administrator for the Nature and Wildlife Preservation Committee and administration, and he's applying for that administrative job. We put it out there to the community, and they go to these hiring stations. We'll be stationed all over the place, in every place that anybody wants to go and do this. And you come in and you actually look and see and read about Elaine and all the people who have applied for that position, and you decide for yourself, all right? You have what we call a sovereign card, and this is the way we thought would make it easier, and everybody just has this card, they show it. You don't need to sign it, they just show it to you, and then you get to do what you need to do. You decide who gets that position, all right? And then that position, once it's filled, is then publicized throughout the whole community. So everybody knows who's in that position and where anybody can get a hold of them if you need to. That is how our hiring stations work, all right? And it's going to be for every position there is. Right now, this is an intern. Everybody here is on an intern position, like Dwight was explaining. And we're only here for until a community gets set up and the sovereigns are all running it themselves. We will phase out. Once they start, we phase out. That's the intern. So anyways, I think I've covered mostly everything. Anybody have any questions? I am open to questions.
Any questions? Do we have any questions on the chat? See any questions on the chat, Adam?
Nothing on YouTube.
Yeah, check on YouTube, please. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Kennedy, do you have a question?
Don, did you have a question?
No, I'm just confused by the whole damn thing. And I never get confused. Must be a library too,
All right, well, if there's no questions
No questions?
at all,
Okay, well, at this point then, thank you very much, Elizabeth, for explaining what we've gone through for a short history.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah.
So at this point, since there's no questions at this time, we will have we have a Jitsi chat Wednesdays. And do we have a date for the next one?
yeah, I do. It's on our website.
Okay, it is on the website, so Wednesday, in fact, we post everything, okay? We're fully transparent for a reason, okay? We're all learning as well. We want everybody else to have their voices heard. So come join us on our Jitsi Open, that's Wednesday nights. I believe we start at 7:00 p.m. Alberta time.
It's in the welcome room.
So it's in the welcome room and it's right on our main page. But at this point, I would suggest, please share this out to your family and friends. Do your due diligence, okay? Go look at all that we put out there. We put it out there for a reason. We're educating the educated, okay? And we are all part of this community of natural sovereign law. Let's take it. We can build this. We can hold those that have done harms against us for millennia. Be quite honest with you, and we can hold them to account. Because until we walk away from the corrupt system that has been in place, create a natural law system back to the original creator's law, we will remain slaves under their corporatocracies. Okay, so when you do the deep dive, ask questions.
Okay, I'd like to read one thing that we never did read.
Yep.
Okay, and that was our mission statement.
Oh yeah.
All right. We never did actually read the mission statement. And this came about because we never explained how we all began. And in the beginning, we were the Republic of Alberta. All right. That was the very beginning when we started drafting the Constitution. And over time and over our research, we found out that Alberta and Saskatchewan were actually one province in the 1800s. Yeah, they were actually one province and then was divided. And as we found this out, we decided, well, gee, we need to change the name because this could be for all of us, right? So we thought, why not make it right across the prairies? So that is why we came up with Prairie Republic. And we voted on this with all the sovereigns in the room. It was unanimously passed because everything in natural law is 100%, not majority. Okay? That is what natural law is all about. So this is our mission statement. We came up with this, and actually Sarah, who was with us for a very long time, great patriot, wrote this. And I'd like to read it. We are sovereign, living beings. Truth be our spirit and heart, with land full of sunshine and winds that shake the prairies. We walk respectful footsteps upon the land, the mountains, and the water. We are all about sovereigns working together. We are creating a true republic that represents the unalienable rights for all sovereign man and woman. We are creating an accountable natural sovereign law system for all living systems. We are creating opportunities for all sovereigns. We are building accountable administrations for the Prairie Republic who are hired by the sovereigns. We live and thrive in harmony, guided by natural sovereign law. And I would now invite you all to be the change, because without you, there can be no change. And I invite all of you to be the solution, because right here is a solution, and I don't hear many solutions today. Everybody is running around in circles, chasing their tails, just like the deep state is doing right now. All our governments are just running in circles. So I would ask that you be the solution. Also, join us and become an administrator, get involved. You want to be a patriot and get involved? Help us design this system. Help us build it and complete it so that we can implement them in all communities. Any community can start this. It doesn't have to be in Alberta. any community. I keep putting it out there. Just give it a chance. And you'll see what freedom is made all about. It's very important. And I also would like to invite you to create. Raise your frequencies and create. Become positive and just put it out there. Your intent is so important. You don't know how powerful you are. The words that come out of your mouth can create everything around you. So let them be positive and uplifting and create a system you want. All we have here is guidelines. We are just guidelines. Anyways, thank you.
All right. Okay, so at this point, I would like to thank everybody that took the opportunity to attend and participate. And for those that are online, thank you for joining us today. Go to our website, get involved. If you really want to see change, be the change. Join the solution. Again, signing off. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now let's see what we get.